Sings my soul, my Savior God to thee. How great thou art, how great thou art. Then sings my soul, my Savior God to thee. How great thou art, how great thou art.
filtered ketone. The fifth child of Bert and Lida Mae Smith. The following highlights are taken from the family history book in 1984. Louise's family had very little money, but they had plenty of family and lots of love.
Beverly, Norma, and I slept three in a bed on the screen porch, and we all had to turn in unison. I hated to sleep in the middle. During the winter, there were many mornings when there was snow on the floor of the screen porch. One day, my cousins and I went out to play in the orchard and climb trees. We ended up breaking off a large branch. When Mother told us to get a switch so she could give us some discipline, we pulled this large broken branch back to the house. Mother started laughing at the thought of using that branch as a switch, that we never did get our switches.
Although poor, once in a while, Louise's family got a treat.
One Christmas, Mother made us all new flannel pajamas. Our old ones were almost ragged. We were so happy to have new pajamas that we all put them on and Mother played a funeral march. Well, we marched through the house and threw our old pajamas in the cool stove. What made it really unusual was that Mother never threw anything away that might be used, even only for dust cloth.
I got to talk right here, is that what you're saying? Yeah. Okay, we got you. As Louise grew up, so did her taste. She loved to dance and go to the movies. She talks of the weekly silent movie at the Roundhouse, the church recreation hall. They were called cliffhangers because the heroine was often left hanging over a cliff or tied to the railroad tracks when the show ended until the next week. One weekend after a war dinner, Dr. Robbins and Ray Jones discussed who would take Louise home. Louise was about to walk by herself when Dr. Robbins asked Ray to take her home. Since he knew more about where she lived, Louise said,
I used to wonder if my life would have been any different had I gone home with Dr. Robbins.
But she went home with Ray Jones and started their courtship. One Sunday night after a fireside in the home of President David O'Malley, Grandma obviously walks in high circles, Ray drove around the avenues, then back down to the Williams home where he proposed. Louise replied,
I know I'm supposed to say, this is so exciting, but I will say yes before you change your mind.
I don't know what else was to do. Louise had a fun courtship, saying she would pick a quarrel with Ray about once a week because it was so much fun making out. One Saturday night, she pretended to give her ring back to him, and he took it, which surprised her. He hadn't done that before. He told her if she gave it back one more time, he'd keep it. I guess he didn't think it was quite as fun. Louise and Ray were married on May 23rd, 1940, and started their family soon after. Throughout their married life, they moved to Seattle, Bremerton, Denver, Phoenix, Coolidge, and back to Phoenix. They held many church colleges. One year, Kathy figured if the Joneses moved out of the ward, they would be leaving 26 positions. One day, the state president, Stan Turley, called Louise into the bishop's office and asked her how she would like to be the bishop's wife. She said it was fine. After she and Ray got home, Ray asked her if she was willing to be Pierce Bensel's wife. Louise Louise and Ray also dealt quite a bit with illness and disease. In 1955, Ray went into the hospital to remove the cancerous left kidney, and Louise visited him often, being 8 months pregnant with Betsy. She said,
Every day when I went to the hospital to see Ray, the nurses would ask me if I'd like them to wheel me down to the hall to maternity section to have the baby. I said no.
But when Louise wanted to have Betsy, it came quickly. She started having pains and went to the hospital. She had called Dr. Shoup earlier and had met her at the hospital. He went to drive his wife home, and 20 minutes later, when he returned, Louise had had the baby and was waiting in the hallway. He wanted to know what the hurry was, and she said,
I didn't want to mess around all day.
As a busy wife and mother, Louise was always resourceful. Curtis? Louise was always resourceful and prepared. And punctual. And always listened to the narrator. One afternoon, on an exceptionally rough ride in the car up to have a picnic, a rock made a hole in the car and oil started to leak through. Louise had the girls wipe off the bottom with a napkin and then had them chew 3 packs of gum and stick it in the hole. Okay, now they plug home. Eventually, they made it home with the help from one of the workers at the dam, at the dam, I guess it's the dam. And then Louise said,
Ray was extremely annoyed to think I let the man who helped me broadcast it all over what had happened. I guess it's clear from Coolidge Dam they were teasing him about patching up the car with chewing gum.
Louise was also an experienced seamstress who knew what was what. One year, Kathy took a sewing class and Louise marked up her pattern so she could make it fit her. Apparently, her sewing teacher was very strict about following the pattern, and there was much hassling between the two seamstresses. Finally, Louise won out.
Her teacher let her bring it home for me to fit it, and she didn't get a very good grade on it, probably because of her mother. We didn't have an unlimited supply of money, and I couldn't stand the idea of her making something she couldn't wear just because she had a stupid sewing teacher.
Being a mother of 7 children, Louise had to find ways to control the bunch. She says,
When Paul was a little over a year old, I was pregnant again. I decided that if brainwashing worked to a person's detriment, it ought to be able to work for good, too. I started telling Paul we were going to have a little baby and how nice it would be. I had him help me put the baby clothes in the drawers and told him how careful he had to be not to hurt the baby. I patted his hand softly and told him that's how we touch the baby, and he tapped my hand. The brainwashing I did on Paul certainly worked. He was so nice to his baby sister Janine, I could hardly believe it. The only problem was he wanted to see her. So he'd go in and stand by the bassinet and touch her and talk to her and wake her up. But he was so gentle and careful and never hurt her. They got along very well until Janine was about 2. Paul gave in to her on every occasion. If she had a toy she wanted, she got it. If she wanted to hit him, he'd let her. Finally, by the time she was 3 years old, she really had him under her thumb. I finally couldn't stand it any longer, and I told Paul that when she hit him, to hit her back. He finally did, and by the time she was 4, she no longer tried to beat up on her big brother, nor demand everything he had.
In 1969, Ray continued his struggle against cancer. After his second operation and removing the second tumor the size of an ostrich, Louise was told by the doctor to not be so nice to him. She needed to constantly urge him to work at getting better.
I took the wheelchair that was in the hallway in the hospital, and went back in Ray's room and told him to get out of bed. He wanted to know why, and I told him I was going to take him for a ride. I got him into the chair, wheeled him to the end of a long hall, and then told him to get out. He was going to push the chair for a while. He told me he couldn't because his left foot dragged and his hand didn't work well. I told him he'd never get better lying in bed. I told him the doctor said he could come home when he could walk to the restroom by himself. We went down the hall 3 or 4 times that afternoon. That next day, we made more trips up and down the hall with a wheelchair. Then before long, he'd walk, holding on to me with his left hand. He was always afraid he'd run into something on the left side. In a week, he was ready to come home.
Ray had to learn everything over again. Louise talked of how she had him pick up marbles in a bowl and other small items. She then covered the keys on the typewriter and had him learn how to type by not just looking at the letters. Ray also spent time playing one hand on the piano while his children played the other hand. Ray later retired. He passed away on October 16, 1974, and was buried in Salt Lake City. After Ray's passing, Louise struggled, saying she felt like a lost soul. She spent much time with her family. This being a very difficult time in her life, she did find some comfort when in February 1975, Brian Harris was born, and she got to babysit him a lot. She said she loved this time having someone to cuddle with. Although many of us never knew Grandpa, we knew he was a special part of Grandma's life. We honored him at this time also. Although there are many stories to tell, we will end here. We love you, Grandma, and wish you the best of birthday.
I want to thank all of you for coming. I don't know how long I've been planning this program, but it's been a long time. Before Christmas, Betsy was sending out Christmas cards and saying, we're going to have a birthday party for Mother. And she's been working on planning, and Kathy and Marty and me have all been planning. My sisters told me before Christmas that they were going to come to my birthday party. And I said, Marty, how many of your family are going to come? She said, everybody's at home. They're all here. I want to thank every one of you who has come. My 2 home teachers are here. One of them was our ex-bishop, now he's in the state presidency. And Ernie's been around helping in the library and been a lot of help for a long time. And Art Shaw, who was one of the counselors in the bishopric when raised in the bishopric when they organized the 10th Ward, we used to come down here to church. We used to go to Glendale first and then down here. But all of my family and all my sons and daughters and all my friends, I'd like to go around and tell you something about every one of them, but you don't want to stay around all night. But thank you very much for coming. I appreciate it. It was wonderful to see you all, and I had a great day.